The Dukes of Dice are brought to you by Arcane Wonders and Tasty Minstrel Games. Check out all their awesome titles at arcanewonders.com and playtmg.com.
Welcome to the Duchy. It's time for another episode of the Dukes of Dice podcast, a proud member of the Dice Tower Network.
Coming to you from the Duchy in the Duke City, Albuquerque, New Mexico, it's the Dukes of Dice, a podcast about board, card, and occasionally role-playing games. Today, the Dukes review Century Spice Road from Plan B Games. Then they look back at their review of Karuba in their Dukes Double-Take. And finally, they discuss their picks for the Dice Tower Awards. And now, the Dukes of Dice.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. This is Sean, and with me is Alex. How's it going, Alex?
Wait, I have 2 weeks worth of and.
Nope.
It's just built up, Sean.
Nope, Alex, you are here. Welcome.
The and is just squirting out of me.
Wow, you need to go to a doctor and get that checked out pronto then.
I probably do. But it's all your fault because you didn't let me get it out.
Well, too bad.
All right.
You're all backed up with and juice.
Hey, it's me, Alex. That's TMI, Sean.
That is a, what's that going on now? Since you've been back, right? Your ands have been elongating.
I don't know what you're referring to.
And we keep referring to it because it's super interesting, apparently.
I don't know what you're talking about.
For like first-time listeners are like, what the heck is going on with these guys?
I don't know.
Anyway, hey, this is episode 148, which is 2 less than 150. 148, which we are titling...
Basic Math with Sean and Alex.
It's also a prime number, except it's totally not because
No,
it's
it isn't at all. Oh, man.
Episode 148, which we are titling Gold is Spice. Ba-dum-bum.
Okay.
Willing to sacrifice.
No, I know the reference.
Gold is Spice, like cold as ice, from, oh no.
BJ.
Well, yeah, from BJ, but I'm trying to think of the band that did Cold as Ice.
Foreigner.
Is it Foreigner?
It is Foreigner.
Okay. All right, yeah. That sounds about right. But of course, we're talking about Century Spice. I don't know what's happening here, Alex.
Boy.
Century Spice Road.
Yes.
Is our featured review, and we're talking about Karuba and our Dukes Double-Take, which is about Cities of Gold type thing. So it makes perfect sense. So congrats to BJ. Alex, has he ever named episodes before?
He has. In fact, this is sort of back-to-back titles for BJ. He has named 3 total on the Dukes episode leaderboard. So good job, BJ.
Why sort of?
Oh, well, because
you didn't explain it.
Well, yeah, we had a week in between where you didn't post it on deck, and then we didn't get any name suggestions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I didn't go into this last week.
No,
I know.
There's good reason.
Last week I was at Rocky Mountain Gaming Vacation, which that's what the whole episode was about. I had a terrible toothache a couple days before. Didn't mention this on the last episode. And I went to the dentist before we left, and he said, well, you need a root canal. I'm like, oh. He's like, but I can't do that since you're going to be gone next week. So I'll just grind the crown down, and that'll give you some relief. So he did that. He gave me a bunch of meds, and we went up, and I think it had something to do with the altitude or whatever, and my tooth was just brutal. It was just killing me. I wound up sitting up almost the entire trip because laying down, I couldn't sleep. My head would just be pounding. So I was very tired the entire time. Yet I still managed to play over 30 unique games, Alex.
Very nice.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you're a dedicated man, sir.
I really am. But yeah, so let's do some show business here.
Hey, by the way, I was in Quebec.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was going on with me. My teeth were fine.
How many games did you play?
I played actually a number before the trip and then some during the trip because I was in San Francisco with my brother, and so I ended up teaching him Seven Wonders Duel of all games because he had bought it at his FLGS there in San Francisco. Played a number of games. He hosted a game night with his friends, and then in Quebec with my special friend, I played some games as well, including Hanamakoji, Scattergories of all things. We went head-to-head in Scattergories, and Mastermind.
Who has a bigger game night, you or your brother?
Oh, we do.
Yeah, I know.
Easily.
I think we actually had our biggest single Wednesday night game night this week. We had 28 people for our Dukes Dice game night at Empire.
It was definitely crowded. I'm glad you were keeping count.
Yeah.
I was not.
We're usually in like the 15 to 25 range, and all of a sudden, and we were missing people too. Like there were still normal, or not normal, the normals.
There were
normies.
normies.
Regulars that were missing. So yeah, that was really cool to see. So a couple weeks, Alex, we're going to be at Dice Tower Con in sunny Orlando.
It might not be sunny. You don't know that.
Okay, well.
It's normally sunny.
It's just something you say.
Pretty sunny here. It's like 100 degrees.
Something you say. So if you're going to be at Dice Tower Con, here's what we'll do. Let's put up a post in the guild so we can kind of coordinate with people who are going to be there. We can get some games in, meet some people. They're going to be there. There's a bunch of people that we meet regularly. Like I know last year I did a game with Damien. We played Kemet, and we want to do that again this year. So, well, not you.
No, not
me.
No. Yep, just
Me.
you.
Yeah.
Our buddy Anthony Harlan, who lives there in Orlando, and this will be our third Dice Tower Con. Hopefully, I think he's going to be there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. So, let us know. We'll put something up in the guild. Alex will put something up in the guild. See?
Probably.
I just committed it to you.
That's fine. There's Baseball Highlights 2045 first mentioned tournament going on as well, which I'll be participating in, and that'll be on Saturday morning.
Okay.
And right now it's an 8-player tournament, but it may expand based on interest. Max is at the moment left out in the cold, and he's the defending champ. So,
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
Also, go check out dukesdice.com for the latest Wham review.
Wham!
Our buddies Matthew and Matt are together. They are Matt. We are Matt. And they just reviewed Yokohama. If you haven't checked out the reviews, I really encourage it because it is a very different format. Usually a lot of reviews online, written reviews, are these like walls of text with some pictures. This is the short, succinct format that they do that just jumps right into the meat of a review. Highly recommend checking that out.
Yeah. It looks really good on the page, so to speak, and we're glad to have them. Matthew's the only other person in the Dukes chat consistently, and Matt's been a longtime friend of the show, so
sure.
They do a great job.
So speaking of dukesdice.com, we are kind of looking to open it up. I mean, Wham was kind of the start. Wham had their foot in the door. I don't know how that's going. Let's ignore that. But we're kind of looking to open this up to other contributors, and we're not necessarily looking for written reviews. Like, I like what Wham is doing. I like that it's something very different from most of the other reviews that are out there. So if you have some desire to contribute to dukesdice.com, some sort of unique format, maybe it's something about painting board game miniatures, I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. But something unique that can set it apart from the rest of all of the awesome websites and blogs that do other board game content out there. So
yeah.
All right.
Let us know if you have an idea.
For sure. Okay, well, let's talk about some board games. Alex, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so right before I went on this trip to both San Francisco and Quebec, I got in a play of Escape from 100 Million BC. This is a game, Sean, that you had mentioned didn't hold much interest in looking at it.
No, it looks not great.
And I will agree with you that the art, at least in some part, at least the human characters, I'm not a huge fan of. It doesn't look superb. The dinosaurs and some of the other monsters and things look actually pretty cool. This game is a lot of fun, Sean.
Huh.
It's a lot of fun. It's a mix of Jurassic Park and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Okay.
Basically, the premise of it is your time machine has crashed way in the past on top of an active volcano. And you and your friends are wandering around the board. It's a cooperative game, trying to find the time machine parts that are scattered around. At the same time, because you've screwed up so badly, different people from history, some famous, some not so famous, are getting sucked through rips in the space-time continuum and shoved into this 100 million BC environment. And so all of a sudden, Abraham Lincoln is just wandering around in dinosaur times, or Teddy Roosevelt, or Xi, the Chinese peasant. It's all of these different characters and things that'll just pop out and they'll mosey around the board. Of course, because you're in the past, you'll also encounter dinosaurs, both in the waters, in the swamps, on the plains. Some of them are herbivores and they don't bug you too much and you go about your business. Some of them are carnivores and they will start roaming around the board. If they don't eat you, they may eat someone from history, which will, of course, open up something in the space-time continuum, and you are trying to avoid the paradox points getting too far out of control or else you lose the game. It's a lot of fun, Sean. It's a ton of fun thematically.
Well, what's the mechanics here? Like, what are you doing?
It's cooperative. I mean, you're moving around the board, trying to do things.
You have like action points?
Yeah, you have action. It's not action. You have movement points on a round.
Okay.
If you uncover something that causes an encounter, you have one encounter per turn. So that encounter might be trying to convince Abraham Lincoln to come join you so you can escort him back to his rip in the space-time continuum. An encounter might be you run into a pack of velociraptors who are trying to eat your face. You might have to shoot them. Of course, if you shoot dinosaurs, that also tends to increase paradox because you've gone in the past and killed a bunch of dinosaurs, maybe hunting them to extinction.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, a lot of times it's combat rolls, it's encounters, it's there's certain adventure cards that come up. You might need to swing on vines and make a roll along those lines for that. It reminds me, I think in terms of how the character sheets are set up, kind of like and this is a stretch because it's not as heavy as this, and I tend to making these stretches a little like Eldritch Horror, and that you have certain types of points. You have fortitude, like mental points. It's not that you can go insane in the past, but you can use them to buy rerolls and other things. I think you're gonna like I think you're gonna dig this one, Sean. And maybe it's just me really getting into the theme of this.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty good.
Okay.
I think it's pretty really good.
Well, it's designed by Kevin Wilson.
Yeah.
Who was, noted game designer. He was in-house with Fantasy Flight for a while, but it wasn't so much the art that had me that kind of made me a little wary of it, but just kind of the graphic design. It looked like an older game. It looked like a game from the 90s.
I can kind of see that. I don't think it's quite that dated to me, but it definitely, our art holds it back a little bit. But I'm telling you, in terms of the theme of this, we were having so much fun at the table playing through this, and just seeing the shenanigans that can happen.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I highly recommend giving this one a look, and then hopefully we'll get it to the table at a Duke's game night some point soon.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Okay.
I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Over to you, Sean.
Hey, so I got to play Mind Out. That's MINED. This is from Brain Crack Games, designed by Lewis Shaw, and our buddy Nick recently got this fulfilled from Kickstarter. In this game, you are a dwarven miner who has your own little mining tableau. You're going to be exploring your mine at 3 different levels. And as you move on this little card, each card has like this 3x3 grid and little spots. There's little loads where you can, go mine the yellow, red, and green gems that you're going to need to do certain things. And then as you kind of go to the edge of a card, you can jump to the next blank area and then draw a card to fill that. And ultimately what you're trying to do is be the first to buy 4 objectives or 4 upgrade cards. And let me rephrase that. It's not be the first to do that. That's what triggers the end game. And then you add up all of the points. Points are going to be from leftover gems, from the different cards you've acquired, a bunch of other things. So for example, you can upgrade to a mug of ale or whatever, and it gives you an extra action. It's an action point game. You have 4. So to move left to right costs a point. To move down costs 2. Initially at the start of the game, you can't move up, period. You can only move down or left, right. Some other things that you'll get. On your turn, you're basically using those action points to move to collect gems. But when you collect a gem from a card, that card becomes unstable. And you turn it 45 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah. To show that it's unstable. And if you collect from it again, it collapses and you have to go wind up on another piece. And you're going to get points for uncollapsed tiles at the end of the game. And so you kind of want to avoid that. So you can take actions to kind of shore up 2 adjacent tiles by building these beams. Yeah, so this was not great. This was not great. Now, part of it was Nick came in and he said, hey, Marissa and I played this the other night, and we don't like it that much. Just got from Kickstarter. We're not crazy about it. We're hoping we missed something. So, of course, that's kind of in the back of my mind, right? But yeah, it was very tedious. It wasn't particularly interesting. There was nothing expansive about the gameplay. Like, you weren't necessarily getting better. Things weren't getting more interesting. It was just a tedious, okay, I run over here. All right, I run over here. It would be multiplayer solitaire if it weren't for the fact that everyone gets a stick of dynamite. And if you want to, you can throw a stick of dynamite at another player's tableau to blow up one of their sections. But if you do, then you lose some points because leftover dynamite. It was it was not for me, Alex. And
okay.
We were almost at the point where we kind of agreed, hey, let's just stop playing. But then fortunately, Cameron was like, oh, I could actually just win next turn. We're like, hooray!
Good job, Cameron.
So yeah, not particularly enjoyable for me. So if maybe it's for some people out there.
Excellent.
That's Mind Out from Brain Crack Games.
a glowing endorsement from Sean.
They can't all be.
It's true.
Fantastic.
Next up, I got in a Kennerspiel nom. This was the last game of the night before I took my trip to San Francisco and Quebec. This was Exit the Game, and I played the Pharaoh's Tomb, which is the one that you played as well, Sean.
The second one I played.
That's right.
Yeah.
And boy, we got our butt kicked for this one. It was 3 of us. It was myself, it was Cameron, and it was Curtis.
Ooh, 3 might be too few.
It probably was.
Yeah.
It probably was, and we missed something at some point.
Was it early on?
It was...
Hold on, let's be careful here.
I'm going to be very careful. It was kind of midway, I think.
Okay.
we had a hard time early on. Like the very first puzzle had us kind of stumped a little.
Okay. We missed something early on that we had people quitting.
Oh.
Because we were like, I don't understand. Like, we did all of the clues.
Right.
We're like, we know what we're doing. Why isn't this? So, ultimately, we were on BGG looking it up, seeing if other people had these problems. No one else really did. Mm-hmm. So it was an us problem. Absolutely. Okay. It just means that we kind of had to slow down but yeah.
We ran into something too where we were sort of ultimately flipping through a bunch of hint cards to be like, hey, do we have everything we need for this? So I'm pretty sure we do.
Right.
But we're solving something that we can't see. I'm trying to not give away anything.
I know, it's hard to do that. Let's take a step back real quick.
Yeah.
This is an escape room in a box,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
You have all of these puzzles that unlock certain things, and you're doing this through these decks of cards. So you think you have figured out this particular puzzle, and so you have this decoder ring. You put it into the decoder ring. If you think you're correct, it says go to this card, and then there's this other thing you have to do on this card, and then it'll confirm whether or not you're correct, and then it gives you some new component.
Right.
That you're able to now use to figure out something else.
It's actually a really cool system.
It is.
I found the system itself really interesting, especially compared to the other escape room game. I can't remember the Stargazer's Manor that we talked about a couple weeks ago,
which is more of a family weight.
Definitely, way more of a family weight. And this is definitely very much in the gamer weight wheelhouse.
Escape the Room, is that what it was called?
Something like that. Escape the Room, Stargazer's Manor. That sounds right. It may not be exactly right. But I was really impressed with a lot of the cleverness here. A lot of the puzzles were really cool and really interesting, and how they use the box. And I found, at least for the price point, to be a pretty good value. We got a lot of game out of this.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to try the other ones as well. So this played pretty well, but I ran into something similar to you guys, Sean, in that we hit a big issue that it took a little bit to resolve.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it happened, but it definitely dampened things a little bit for us.
It could be that I wasn't fully on my game, that my mind wasn't as sharp as it could have been.
Okay.
Because Rory and Marie cooked us a delicious steak before we did this.
Okay.
And it was delicious. Did I mention the delicious steak was delicious?
You did.
And so I was full, and Raquel was full, and we were comfortable. We weren't hungry. We need to be hungry for this game. like the wolf.
Excellent. Now we're dropping Duran Duran references.
We sure are.
See, I know music a little better than I do movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
It's interesting. All right, so that's Exit the Game, Pharaoh's Tomb.
All right, so I had another Kickstarter fulfillment here to talk about. This is Cobras from Cardboard Edison, designed by Chris and Susan Zinsley, and this is a trick-taking game for up to 5 players. And deck of cards, 4 suits from 1 to 13. Also, everyone has their own King Cobra card. And, of course, you're trying to be the first to score a certain number of points in this trick-taking game. And you're going to do that by playing out these cards like a regular trick-taking game where one person throws out a card, that's the lead suit. You have to then follow if you can with the same suit. Now, if you lose the suit, you're going to add up all of the Cobras that are on each player's cards that were played. So I think it's like 1 through 6 has 1 Cobra each, 7 through 9 has 2 Cobras, and then 10 through 13 has 3 Cobras each. Something like that. The breakdown's similar to that. So you add up all the Cobras, and then if it's 5 players, everyone but 1 player lost, right? So you divide those total Cobras by 4. You place those Cobras onto your basket. You have this little card that represents your basket. Now, if you win a trick, you turn in all of the Cobras that are already on your basket, and you score a certain number of points. The target number of Cobras here is 7. It's kind of a pyramidal scoring thing, but once you go past 7, those Cobras are worth less and less. So you really want to turn them in around 7. So a lot of times you're like, okay, I totally want to lose this hand. Or no, now I'm ready to win. And I like that kind of, that tension, that deciding. It reminded me of Skull King. Did you play Skull King yet?
Of course.
Okay.
I played it the first time you played it.
Oh, yeah. So it reminded me a little bit of that, where it's like, okay, I don't always want to win. A lot of trick-taking games, you always want to win, right? So that was kind of interesting. Now, I mentioned before that there's a King Cobra card. You're allowed to play the King Cobra card once per round. And when you do that, you say, I am joining in with the losers, or I'm joining in with the winners. And you just automatically either win or lose, depending on what you did. It was interesting. I don't know that I liked it at 5. I feel like I can wrap my head around trick-taking games pretty well, especially on the first couple plays, and something was missing here. I just think that maybe I need to try this at 3 or 4 players. So I don't have a strong recommendation for it yet. Maybe I will. I definitely want to try this at 3 or 4. But I enjoy trick taking games. Right now, Skull King and Diamonds are really hard to dethrone. They're both fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, you were really enthusiastic about Skull King.
Yeah.
Like, really.
I mean, it would have been interesting had I played Cobras before I'd played Skull King a couple weeks ago for the first time. I got to play Skull King at Rocky Mountain Gaming Vacation with Mark Street.
Skull King, first mention.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's Cobras from Cardboard Edison.
Yo, Joe!
Yeah, I was wondering, instead of Cobra King cards, the one improvement they can make, just call them Cobra Commander cards.
Yeah, totally fits
Right?
with the aesthetic there.
Hail Hydra. All right. Yeah. So,
I'll get you, Joes!
I actually never saw that TV series,
Oh,
so that voice sort of sounds good.
yeah, okay.
I think.
Let's say it is.
Sounds
Let's just say
better
it is.
than other voices relative to expectations. Anyhow, the last one I'll talk about, Sean.
Wait, real quick. There is a G.I. Joe episode of Community
Okay.
that is hilarious. It's all cartoon. It's a G.I. Joe episode, but with anyway,
Awesome.
talk about your game, Alex. I just watched it. It was fantastic.
So I got a game off of Kickstarter fulfilled while it was in. I know my one Kickstarter of the year. This was one that we had discussed, and Matthew was really happy I pulled the trigger on getting it because if I didn't, he was going to.
Yeah.
And so I sort of ended up biting the bullet for the group, which is very rare. I don't ever do that.
You never take one for the team, Alex.
Nope, I sure don't. I was inspired by the theme of this one, though. The game is This War of Mine. And
I'm gonna let it shine.
what?
No.
What?
This little light of mine.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Anyway.
Good job, Sean.
Way to
And I'm going to
derail
totally butcher the pronunciation here, but it's designed by Michael Orach and Jacob Wisniewski. And I think Michael Orach is best known, for Nurshima Hex as well as Cry Havoc. So pretty good design pedigree on this game generally. This is based off of the video game. And the premise of the video game and the board game are that you are a group of civilians trying to survive in a war-torn, I think, Eastern European city.
Yeah.
And it is not meant to be a typical war empowerment kind of game.
You're not a soldier.
No.
You're not some superhero.
Nope. You're trying to scrounge up enough food and water to survive. You're trying to put someone on guard duty who's going to be just good enough to ensure that you don't get all of your stuff stolen. You're trying to not get too depressed. You're not trying to get too hungry. You're not trying to get to anything and just make it through enough rounds to survive the war. And that theme was why I backed this.
Yeah.
Not to mention the design pedigree. I love Nurshima Hex. But that theme, we had discussed this, I can't remember how many episodes ago, but can a board game make you cry?
Right.
Kind of thing. And this is an effort at trying to go in that direction. And it has some powerful moments in getting an initial playthrough. To that effect. It has a storybook with 1,900 different paragraphs that you can look up.
Holy cow.
Yeah, holy cow's right. Some of those are rule explanations, and I'll get to why in a second. They did rules in a really interesting, odd way here. Some of them are continuations of other things. It's sort of a choose-your-own-adventure thing. You might get a setup paragraph and then do this, go here, do this, go to there. So it's not 1,900 individual tales, but it's a good, thick book of scripts. There's a lot of content here. And so we got a group of 5 of us. You can play with 1 to 6. And how this works is there are up to 4 characters, no more than 4 characters in a building at any one time. You don't control individual characters. You as a party all control sort of the group. And there's a team leader, and that team leader will make decisions for the group for that section. Then you'll pass, and someone else might make the next set of decisions. So everyone gets their turn at making decisions for the group. And that might be, we're sending people to go, forage at the old hospital tonight instead of going out during the daytime when sniper fire might catch one of our group. We're putting this person on guard duty. This person's going to sleep for the night. This person's going to try and build a bed so people can sleep better in general. And that's effectively how it works. There's a dawn phase, there's day actions you'll do, there's a dusk and night actions. And so what's really interesting about what this game's trying to do, not just thematically, they're also trying to incorporate a different way of they call it open up and play, I believe, kind of mechanics, where the idea being you don't read the rules in advance. You're not supposed to understand all of the rules in advance. They want you to open up, read through, and process through and go. And okay, run through the day actions and make decisions without necessarily knowing the full repercussions of what that decision might involve, without knowing how combat works, without knowing what you're necessarily going to need to keep people from starving or whatever the case may be. and they want you to kind of learn as you go.
Can I just say that's the perfect game for Alex?
Yeah. Well, it is and it isn't, right? I mean, it solves one problem.
For Alex to be responsible for learning and teaching. That's what I mean.
Well, so the problem it solves for me, or it's attempting to solve, is this problem of you teach a game for however long, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Holy cow.
Well, in some cases, teachers do take that long.
Okay.
And sometimes you just want to play. I mean, you've seen that before where I just get like,
I do.
Let's just get in and do this. Let's just go. And what the game's trying to do is take that away. And I admire that effort because I like that it's trying to get you in the action faster. The problem is I don't think they executed perfectly on doing that. I think their journal and their rule book and how they explain everything doesn't get into exactly everything you need to know at every point. They don't explain when you're supposed to necessarily look in the book of scripts to execute another event or not, or exploration. How does it exactly work? And they also rely on you going into the book of scripts to find certain rules. Go to section 333 to find another section. So to look up a rule, let's say you're not sure how this might work, they don't have everything in this sort of journal main rule book. They have, if you're more curious about this, go look in this other book in this section. I don't like that at all, Sean. It bogged things down big time for us. And I like the spirit of what they're trying to do. I don't think they executed on it properly. I think what you needed to do if you wanted to do that is, hey, play through it this way to start, and then they put all of the extra rule references in that journal, in that book, so people have a sense of how these different mechanics work or should work. It's not a properly fleshed out rule book, and they try and divide the tasks, and it makes looking things up a nightmare. It makes looking things up more difficult than it needs to be, and it made getting into and playing this much harder than it needed to be. Which is a shame because there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And I'm excited to get it back to the table, and I'm really curious what you're going to think about this.
Yeah.
It is a dark game. It's not going to be for everybody. This is a game where people die in brutal ways, and not just in the cartoonishly violent brutal ways, in the heartbreakingly brutal kinds of ways. That you have to make tough decisions. The characters might die or get depressed. It's meant to be a dark game. I like that a lot about this, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on. But boy, And what's interesting is Tom Vassell, in reviewing this, had a similar criticism of the game. They did respond to this, by the way. I'll read you their responses. They basically say that they think this is going to be a controversial topic, as it's a very new approach. They don't agree with how he sees that thing.
What did he say?
What did Tom say?
Yeah.
Tom basically echoed what I was saying, and that he sort of liked the spirit of it, but he wasn't a big fan of how it was executed and didn't think it worked. Didn't think it worked doing it the way they did in terms of the rules explanation.
Well, I thought what you told me was it was a great game that he will only play once.
And that was more due to the theme.
Right.
That was more due to the thematic content, which they actually agreed with him. They felt that Tom captured that spirit properly. They disagreed with his thoughts on the journal manual. But I will say, having muddled through this ourselves, I tend to agree with his criticism of it. So I'm excited to get to the table more. I like a lot of what they're doing here, and I like the idea of going into a new theme, into going into new territory. I always like when people try and take risks that way. I just don't know if everything worked as well as it could have in this case. If it was executed quite as well as they probably wanted it to be.
Gotcha.
So that's This War of Mine.
Okay, last one I'm going to talk about is Hunt a Killer. A Killer. This is not a traditional board game.
What?
This is not even an escape room in a box.
Is it a card game?
It is a subscription service.
Is it a role-playing game?
I don't know.
I think this sounds like outside of the scope of the show, Sean.
Could be. So you go to huntakiller.com and you will get the first package. You get the first package, right? And then if you want to continue to do this, you get, charged, and it comes every month. So this is you trying to hunt a serial killer from your friendly local pen pal in prison, who I guess is also a serial killer. So they send you this box, and it has some items in it. Now, I'm not going to tell you what's in it necessarily. I will say that there is a letter from your pen pal. There's a letter from the fake company that sets up this pen pal service that you're engaged in. And you have to take some of these things and you need to do some sleuthing. Now, it's not a nice, neat package, metaphorically speaking, in that you're not necessarily going to solve everything that first month. And that's kind of frustrating, but in a good way, right? Because in a whether it's a real escape room or an escape room in a box, you know, I've got everything I need right here to figure this out. In this, you need to do some research online. And so, for example, the letter has a web address on it. So you go to that web address, which is the fake company's web address, and there's a bunch of stuff there that you need to kind of pour through and figure out what's relevant, what's not. And maybe you need to do some research on Greek mythology for some reason, which I can't go into detail about. It's really interesting. Like I said, there's this level of frustration because it's like, well, I don't know what I'm solving. If there is a goal in mind this particular month, if this one object that I got this month has anything to do with anything else this month or not, or if I'm going to find this out 2 months from now. So I don't know. I don't know yet, but it's really interesting. So I think it's like $20 a month. And you figure there's other subscription services out there that, you know, like Loot Crate and there's some board game bento and things like that. But this is something that Mariah, Raquel, and I kind of sat down for a couple hours, and something that's also been like percolating in my mind over the last, because we got this like 2 weeks ago, right before we left for Rocky Mountain Gaming Vacation. So I've been thinking about it, like, okay, well, what does this have to do with it? What does this audio clip that we heard, so I guess that's a spoiler, sorry, what does that have to do with it? So it was really cool. So I definitely recommend going and checking out Hunt-A-Killer.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for what we played. Alex, why don't we head on over to the news desk?
All right, first up in news, something a little bit on the sadder side. Geek Chic is shutting down. And I'll read a statement from Robert Gifford with the company there. It's with great sadness that I must announce Geek Chic has ceased operation. Despite heroic efforts by many, this outcome is out of our hands. While I'm certain there are many outstanding questions, we are currently limited in our ability to respond. I will update this page with appropriate contact information and procedures as they become available. I'm forever indebted to those who joined us on this adventure, and am absolutely gutted about its end. And that's it. That's all we know officially about what's going on with this one, Sean.
Yeah, so Geek Chic made these beautiful heirloom gaming tables. And when I say heirloom, I mean these are going to last for generations. I mean, they're solid tables. Gotten to see some at conventions. They're really nice. They're also really expensive, but you're kind of, I don't know, it's kind of hard because you can purchase heirloom furniture for half of what these tables are. But again, these have some gaming specific additions, components added in that make them really beautiful. And in fact, when I first started getting really into board gaming as opposed to, Magic or RPGs or miniatures or whatever, I said, okay, well, I want to get a gaming table. And I looked at Geek Chic, who at the time was really the only one in the business doing it. And $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for a table. I'm like, oh boy, that's not going to happen. So I wound up spending about $1,000 on my table that I built. I mean, that was all material and some tools that I was missing, things like that. And it's very functional. And I think, other than the fact that it needs a fresh staining, I think it looks fine, but it's nowhere near the level of craftsmanship that these Geek Chic tables are or were. But that's kind of a hard selling point for a lot of people, right? I mean, how many board games is that?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of board games. And then you have the addition of competitors who were a little bit, less expensive. BoardGameTables.com, Geek & Sons, and there's a bunch in the market now. So without going into too many details as well, Crash Games was acquired by Geek Chic a while ago. And we kind of know now that Crash Games kind of fell apart. They had some debt issues, and there was that Kickstarter that tried to save it. We had Patrick Nichol on the show to kind of discuss that, and ultimately that didn't work. So there's some I don't know what went on here.
There's a lot of rumor going.
There's
around.
rumors, some speculation that the acquisition had something to do with it. My understanding is that there is still this huge backlog of tables that need to be built. Because there's this, I mean, basically you give them the money up front that goes into costs and labor and things like that. And then you get your table a year, 2 years. I've heard like a 3-year delay potentially. So the demand was there. Don't get me wrong. When I say that they're expensive and not everyone can afford them, the demand was there. I don't know what that looked like for their cash flow though.
Right.
So, but yeah, kind of sad news. And but there's still a lot of gaming tables out there that are in another price ranges, so to speak. But yeah, definitely unfortunate. They were the first. They have a Geek Chic table on tabletop, which for a lot of people is an entry point to the hobby. And you just saw it, and it looks fantastic, right? So yeah, very very sad news.
Yeah. So, and there's a couple of sides to this. There's certainly conflict and a lot of rumor going around, and probably not worth getting too much into any of that. But yeah, there's some weird stuff bubbling around this. But it's just sad to see on all around, really.
Yeah.
So, cool. Next up, something more on the more exciting front.
Ooh.
Pandemic Legacy Season 2. We have a transmission incoming, Sean.
Yeah, from Z-Man Games website. So this is kind of a spoiler, I think. Because we haven't actually finished Season 1.
No, we haven't, Sean.
So I think this is a spoiler. So if you don't want to hear this, this is the transmission, right? So it's not...
It's out there.
It's out there on their website. So fast forward like 40 seconds.
40 seconds?
I don't know.
Maybe more than that.
A minute.
Okay,
A minute.
Let's do it. We have a minute. Let's go.
71 years later, we've all heard the stories of the world as it was, before the plague, before Coda. For 3 generations, we have lived on floating havens, far from the mainland, far from the plague. We have done our best to provide the remaining cities with supplies, antibiotics, food, medicine, and tools. But our efforts are no longer enough. Cities are falling off the grid at an alarming rate. We don't know what happened to them.
Humanity's last chance. Even worse, our leaders have not returned from their yearly summit. Without them, the havens and rest of the grid are in jeopardy. The last fragments of our people can't hope to deliver enough supplies to fend off the plague. Most of us are barely familiar with the mainland, and supplies are already running low. But we have to do something. In 1 week, a small group of us will head out. We don't know what we're going to find out there, but we have to try. The world is counting on us.
Interesting.
It sounds really cool.
And so the webpage that has this transmission shows some images of the cards and some of the art. It looks completely different than Pandemic Legacy, earlier pandemics. It has a whole different kind of aesthetic, but still with a little bit of familiarity from those other games. I'm really excited. Yes, Alex, we're going to finish Pandemic Legacy Season 1.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And then we probably need to figure out something else for Season 2.
Maybe we need to tell Wham they're kicked off the website if we don't get together and finish this.
Okay.
Yeah. Threats always work, right?
You can handle that.
I'm going after listeners. I'm going after Wham.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, that's the environment we live in now.
That sounds like a
Alex.
terrible idea.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, it's Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Only going to get more and more hyped about this one because it sounds cool. And from what Rob Davio told me in an interview we did a few weeks ago, really cool. It's all going to be really cool, I think.
Yes, indeed.
All right, and finally, we always like to talk about a Kickstarter every week, and this week we're not talking about a game. We're talking about components, specifically the Component Collector. This is a series of, they sort of look like coasters almost.
Right.
That sit in a little coaster holder. In fact, one of them actually is a coaster, of all things. And they have different functions. So they might be a little tub for components to slide into. It might be a deck holder. They might be something for chips. There's one that's a counter that you can use to keep track of whatever you'd like. So there's a wide variety of different things that all come in this little component holder made of wood and made of different kinds of wood. And the prices vary pretty wildly based on what kind of wood you want. So
it sure is.
The cheapest level that was on there was $44.
And that gets you white wood
right.
with brown textured strap and brass hardware.
It's actually balsa wood. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
And then there's the higher level, the highest level that I could find on there, $129 for Bolivian rosewood. Yeah. And that one I think has nickel components or something along those lines.
Yes. It's crafted in bacote or bacote. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
With burgundy leather strap and nickel hardware.
Yeah. Looks pretty classy.
And you get 8 tiles
right.
of these. And so at a certain level, they're preset tiles because they basically have a bunch of different shapes, like you were mentioning. They're like slots and things for cards and bowls and things like that. Eventually, you can, if you pay enough, you can choose your configuration, and you can kind of use them either in the center for everyone to pull from. You can use them like around your player board, so to speak, with your individual components, depending on how many you need. I don't know. This can get kind of pricey.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the range is pretty significant on this one. No doubt about it. So It wraps up June 29th. So from the time this episode drops, you'll have, I think, a week and a half, about a week and a half-ish to jump in on this one if you want. It's 141,000 of its 1K goal, so this is happening. Sean, are you going to get in on this?
I don't know. Probably not.
Okay.
Because I feel like, number one, so they do have red oak, which is what my table's made out of.
Oh.
But I feel like I'd want a bunch of these.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I feel like I like the when I saw the ones like around the player board of, was it Tuscany or Viticulture? I mean, it just looked cool, and now I need 6 of those. I don't want to spend money on 6 of those.
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, I like my $4 solution of little plastic tubs and things like that. That's kind of
certainly ups the classy factor though if you get these big wood tiles. So would certainly look good on the table, but yeah, the price point makes it a little tricky. So yeah, I wasn't sure where you would fall on this one.
As of right now, what I'm looking at, it's raised exactly $150,000.
Okay, it's gone up since I filled that in. Wow.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, that is the Component Collector. Go check that out on Kickstarter if that sounds at all appealing or interesting to you. And like I mentioned, you got until June 29th if you want to get in. That is our Kickstarter for the week, and that is a look at the news.
Convention season is well underway, and Tasty Minstrel Games will be at Origins in June and Gen Con in August. And some really exciting news, if you're going to be attending Origins, they will be doing a soft release of Jiraku, Lemuria, Okidoki, and Samara. In addition, it's also the official wide release of the second expansion for Orleans, called Trade and Intrigue. And hey, did you know that Tasty Minstrel Games has a podcast? Well, they do, and it's hosted by Lance Mixter, the Undead Viking. Go check out the Tasty Minstrel Games podcast. They'll provide insider info, give you information about some of their new releases. They'll have special guests, usually including people from TMG, but there might be some other outside guests as well. They'll give you information for various contests, talk about game design, all sorts of stuff. Definitely worth checking out the new TMG podcast. So please be sure to check out information on all their newest releases over at playtmg.com.
It's been said by a wise man that everything is splendor. Well, in the case of this week's game, Century Spice Road, it actually is kind of a lot like Splendor. But does it surpass that title? Or does it fall a little bit short on its way down the Spice Road?
Century Spice Road was designed by Emerson Matsuchi. It's published by Plan B Games with fantastic art by Fernanda Suarez. And this is a little bit of an engine building game. You are trying to collect various spices. You're trying to upgrade them ultimately for recipe fulfillment, where you have these gold cards. They're going to provide you points at the end of the game. You're playing until someone has collected 5 or 6, depends on the number of players in the game. Plays up to 5 players. And there's some incentive for purchasing some cards that come up earlier in the gallery. You have a gallery of the recipe cards. So if you do the very first one, it's going to give you bonus 3 points. The next one's worth an extra point. And then everything else after that is not worth anything. Basically, it's encouraging them to kind of move along. Now, you're also going to be collecting some cards for your deck. Everyone starts with 2 cards. One card will give you 2 yellow spice, which is, what's that, saffron? Or no, it's turmeric?
I think it's turmeric. That would certainly be the right color.
Okay.
I'm looking up the spice name so we don't screw this up. So continue on. I'll get on that.
So you have one card. You can play it to get those 2 yellow cubes, those 2 yellow spices, or you can play a card that lets you upgrade 2 cubes once each, or 1 cube 2 levels. So basically you go from yellow spice to red spice, to green spice, to brown spice. So the brown spices are inherently more valuable because they're harder to get to. So on your turn, you either play a card from your hand, you pick up all of the cards that you've played and return them to your hand, you fulfill an objective, or you can select a new card for your hand from the second gallery of cards. There's 6 of them that are laid out. If you want to grab the first one, that's fine. However, if you want to grab the second one, you have to put a spice down on the first card, and so on if you want to grab, say, the 6th one. So that gets kind of pricey. then when you collect these cards, when you're taking one of these cards, if there are accumulated spice on them, you get to add them to your area. But you are limited in spice. You can only ever have 10 cubes at a time. Now, some of these cards are going to let you do some different things. So, for example, you could play a card that just gives you a single brown cube, or it lets you change perhaps 2 yellow cubes into a red and a green cube, or turn a green cube into like 3 yellow and a red, or something like that. So there's some interesting different interplays you can kind of do there. Ultimately, it's a race to collect points by completing these different objective cards. And whoever has the most points at the end, add up all the value on cards, any of the coins that you've collected, is going to be the winner of Century Spice Road.
So here's your spice ladder for folks curious.
Sure.
Goes turmeric is the yellow one, then red goes up to saffron, then green goes to cardamom, then brown goes to cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the spice ladder. So Sean, your initial thoughts on this game?
So this is going to get compared to Splendor.
Yep.
Everything is Splendor, Alex, right?
Yep.
And
the one time it's actually true.
The one time. And yeah, this is, and I don't mean this in any derivative way. And I don't think you do either necessarily.
No, not at all.
It is a fairly lightweight game that I think is a good entry level game that has fairly simple turns that you're using to kind of build an engine, a light engine. You know, it's not some crazy engine building game like Innovation or something like that, but a light engine to be efficient. And you're trying to be as efficient as possible. So I think the comparisons to Splendor are definitely apt. I like this game. In fact, I like this, I think, more than Splendor, though I think Splendor will have the greater mass appeal. So for example, Rory got his first play of this, and the owner of Empire Board Game Library, and he immediately went and bought 18 more copies of it.
Yeah.
From his distributor, because he figures it's gonna sell like Splendor. I don't know that it's gonna sell like Splendor will or has, but I think it's really solid.
I think there are enough Splendor fans that if people enjoyed Splendor, there's a good chance that they're going to, if they play this one, be interested in picking this one up, because there's enough difference between the two games, but they have enough of a similar feel, and in positive ways, as you're talking about.
Right.
These simple, quick turns, these fairly easy mechanics, this move towards efficiency, but that results in some degree of complex enough strategy. There's some interesting strategies that can emerge from this.
Right.
And it's definitely a gamer's game, and I would say it's actually more of a quote-unquote gamer's game than Splendor is, if that makes any degree of sense.
I would say by a hair.
Yeah, not by a lot, but
Yeah.
I think it's there, for sure. So, yeah, and I would echo a lot of what you're saying, Sean. I actually enjoy this one quite a bit, and I think the comparison's fairly apt. But I definitely think it does enough different where both have a place in a collection or could have a place in a collection. So, rulebook. Sean, rules.
Yeah, it's a sheet, front and back, which is similar to Splendor. I think Splendor is also a front and back sheet, if I remember correctly, or maybe it's a booklet. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. It was an easy learn. It's an easy teach. It's solid.
And yet, I still played with the wrong rule in all of the plays I did with this.
Oh.
We're just realizing this now.
I'm not.
No, not you. I am. That with the exchange card. So in some cards, you might have, say, 2 red, 2 saffron, and convert them into 2 green cardamom. What I didn't realize in playing this, and other folks at the table and any of the plays I had realized, was you can do that multiple times with the same card. Most cards don't work that way. If you play a card to get cubes, you can't get as many cubes as you can carry. That would be insane.
I get infinite cubes.
I get infinite brown cubes. I just have 10 brown and I win. But on those conversion cards, on those trades, you can make as many exchanges as you possibly can.
Not the upgrades, but the conversions.
Correct. Specifically the conversions. They're called... Yeah, exactly right. And in any case, actually, the conversion cards are the upgrade ones. The exchange cards are the ones you can do. Yeah, and that's the list.
Our terminologies.
I know, it's fine. You're limited in that you can only have 10 cubes at any given time. So there's only so much you can push that. Good to know it means that these cards that you pick up are actually more valuable and can make you even more efficient. In future plays, I'm excited to see what possibilities that opens up. In general, fairly simple game to teach, though.
Yeah.
Very, very simple. I didn't actually look at the rulebook at any point, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay. So, art and components. Well, the art is done by Fernanda Suarez, who is an amazing artist. She does the art for Plaid Hat, for Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn, for Dead of Winter, and I think the art is fine here. I usually love her art. I mean, the Ashes art is just so beautiful. It's vibrant. It's bright colors. This is kind of, it's, medieval spice traders. It's a little bit more drab. It's a little bit, I don't know. It didn't quite do it for me like I'm accustomed to her art normally doing.
Yeah.
So for example, for Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn, she was nominated for Dice Tower award for Art of the Year, right? I don't think this is going to be in that same category. Though It's good. It's very good. Certainly better than I can do. But
if you hire me to do art for your game, you'll be getting a lot of stick figures.
But no, it didn't wow me like some of her other art has done. And that's not to say that it's in any way bad or it detracts from the game in any way. I just kind of, I don't know, had a certain expectation for her art.
I think some of that's thematic.
Sure, absolutely.
I think it's hard to do as much with this theme artistically.
Right.
And I think that's maybe the challenge. I think it looks just fine.
Yeah.
But it definitely doesn't stand out like some of her other stuff does. I would agree with you.
That's really what I should say. It doesn't stand out like her other stuff does. That's probably the best way to put it.
In any case. I think it works very well though for what it needs to do. The one thing I really appreciate though, speaking of little plastic tubs or ways of holding components, the game comes with these 4 dishes and really nice dishes that hold these cubes that you're using to trade with. Really smart component decision and fits perfectly into the box. Looks really cool on the table, and I love that.
Yeah.
I loved how they did that.
The various cards are all kind of tarot-sized cards, which is an interesting choice, I think. I think it's perfect for the objective cards. I don't know that it was necessary for the cards in your hand, necessarily. It doesn't hurt the game in any way, but it was an interesting choice.
Yeah. And I like the coins, by the way, that you claim with the cards. When you claim certain objective cards, you'll get bonus points.
Yeah.
Those coins are nice and solid.
Yeah.
And
metal coins.
Yeah. I think it actually succeeds pretty well on theme, similar to how Splendor succeeded pretty well on theme. And that's another comparison as well. Those chips were
theme or components?
Components.
Okay.
Specifically, no, we haven't gotten to theme.
I know, you kept saying theme, though.
Oh, did I?
Yep.
All right. Good job, me. The components, excuse me. Are solidly done, and in that case, it boosted Splendor, and I think it boosts this game as well. So I think overall, actually, a pretty nice production, really well done production.
So there's the game, right? There's what the components come in the box, but you can also get a playmat for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So did you play with both the playmat and without?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
I played once with a playmat.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll talk about it.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. So yeah, it's similar to Splendor, where you can play without any sort of playmat. There's no board. You just set up the cards. Here you do the same thing. The playmat has specific spots for the cards. I really enjoy playing with the playmat a lot more. Just like Splendor, I enjoy playing with the Splendor playmats a lot more if you can get your hands on them. And it's certainly easier to pick up the cards. I thought it was really nice. I think it's something at least worth checking out. It's a nice playmat. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Let's get into gameplay innovation of this one, Sean. And we've talked a little bit about this. I'll go first here. I love when games have simple mechanics but good depth of gameplay. And this hits that ratio right on the head. It has this idea of you can do one of these things on your turn and only that thing. It makes turns go really fast. It keeps the game moving. So even at higher player counts, and I didn't play this with a full 5, Sean, and maybe you can speak to that. I think you may have gotten that play in. But at least with 3 and 4, or the 2 counts that I did get it in at, it breezed along really well. And I like that. I like A, how efficient it is, and I like B, how quickly it moves. So that combination of things makes it a pretty solid thing. It's still going to engage you as a gamer, though. There's this cool puzzle of trying to convert different resources and fulfill these cards. Maybe someone beats me to that card, and am I set up to do something else? If I burn all of these cubes out, will I have anything else to kind of get off the ground? How do I do this the most efficient way I possibly can to get the most points? And I think that puzzle is really engaging and pretty well done here.
Yeah, no, I thought it was solid. It has like you said, that similar experience to Splendor in the fact that it's quick turns, right? It's like, boom, I do this. I take these chips, or in this case, I take this spice, I play this card, I pick up my cards. And I found, even at 5 players, the game to be fairly fast-paced, right? All of a sudden, it's your turn again. I think 3 is probably the sweet spot. It's probably where I'd prefer to play this game. But it was still fine at 4 and 5. And I think that if you're going to game night and you've got some gamers that might be new to the meetup, they may not be super heavy gamers, or they may be newer gamers. This might be a good game to get everyone playing, just kind of get a feel for things.
Yeah.
So, now for this kind of game, you're not comboing things together. You know what I mean? There's no super satisfying, I play this card, then I play this card, then I play this card, because you're just taking that one action a turn, which is all it needs to do, right? I'm as kind of a heavier gamer, I might normally be looking for something a little bit more, but I think it works for this game quite well.
Now, the comparison has come up several times already, so we might as well get into it. Sean, and I think you talked a little bit about this. What makes this? What does this do better than Splendor? What does this do worse than Splendor?
So this lets you decide how you're building an engine, sort of. So in Splendor, the engine building is the discount that you get on future purchases for having purchased different mines, right? Or different cards, whatever they're called. Here, you can acquire a bunch of cards if you want, which are cards that you're going to be playing. You can say, okay, I'm going to focus on production of these particular colors of spices, which I have these other cards then that let me turn these into whatever else I need. So there's a way to kind of craft your engine, I think, with a little more granularity than you can in, say, Splendor, right? In Splendor, you're saying I'm building up these resource discounts, which is all it really is. So I've played a game of Splendor. Well, I played a game of Century Spice Road where I only had 3 cards in my hand, or no, maybe it's 4, right? By the end of the game, it was 4 cards, and I did well. I've had games where I had like 12 cards in my hand, because sometimes you're going to get a bunch of cubes if you pick up that first card that everyone's passed over. It's got like 4 or 5 yellow cubes on it, and you're like, oh, well, that's really efficient for me to just pick this up, even though I'm never going to use that card. And that's the nice thing about this game. You don't have to use every card in your hand. You decide when you pick up. But at a certain point, you don't want to be wasting too many actions picking up, unless that's kind of how your deck is designed, I guess.
Yeah. I think you're gonna have a hard time if you're picking up way more than everyone else. Usually.
Yeah. Well, it kind of depends, though, right? It depends if the few cards that you do have are so efficient.
Right.
Like, for example, if you get the card that gives you 4 yellow cubes, and then you get the card that gives you 3 upgrades right off the bat, that's a huge advantage, I think. So it just kind of depends, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
So I did play every player count,
okay.
2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 was interesting. 2 was very quick. In fact, it was almost too quick, because I was like, wait, is it your turn or is it my turn? Because I would play my thing, and then I was playing with Matt, and then he would pick up his hand, and then I would pick up my hand, and we were kind of going too quick almost. We played 2 players in, I don't know, 12 minutes, 15 minutes?
Wow. Maybe?
It was pretty quick. So, like I said before, I think 3 players is probably my ideal player count. But yeah, I liked it at 2 well enough.
Here's a question I'll raise, and I don't know if it's a legit issue or not, but it's something that I definitely did run into in my plays of this.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that any of these games that you played were close?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you find the opposite?
I did not play a single game of this where it was close.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Significant gap in final scores.
No, I understand, but I mean, practically speaking, are you talking about first and last player or first and second player?
Even first and second.
Okay.
There's a pretty significant gap, usually at least 15, 20 points, which is effectively an entire card's difference between a couple of people. And that may have just been my plays. I acknowledge that there's certainly possibility, and you have a different experience, that these are a lot closer. At least in my experience, and I don't know why this is, it seemed obvious who was going to win about midway through the game, and it was just a matter of playing through to kind of get to the end and play out the engine. There wasn't much they could do, whereas with Splendor, that can happen,
yeah.
But I found a higher ratio of closer games, I should say. And maybe it's just an anomaly that I just happen to have a lot of blowout games in my plays of this, not just with me winning, by the way. So I don't know if in future plays that evens out a little bit more, but that was my experience. I don't know if it has that as a core problem, but it was something I was aware of in playing this.
Okay, interesting. You want to jump over to theme?
Sure.
So this is kind of interesting, and this may not necessarily be theme per se, but this was originally titled Caravan. And back before Plaid Hat Games was acquired by Z-Man, because this was originally going to be published by Plaid Hat Games, and then it went over to Plan B, both of those acquisitions of Z-Man, which then got acquired by Philosophia, and then by Asmodee, and I don't know. It's very confusing now. But this was originally going to have two different themes. This spice trading theme, and then kind of a sci-fi theme, and you would have the option to purchase either one of those. They've done away with that, and Caravan is now just Century Spice Road, and it's Century : right? Because this is now part of a Century trilogy, and the idea here is that it explores, thematically explores different centuries, and for this century, they're looking at the spice trading theme, and other centuries in the trilogy will look at other themes or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not sure. I mean, we kind of talked about marketing in games, and so if someone likes Century Spice Road and then they come out with Century Platypus Farming,
whoa,
you're going to be like,
well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Just separately, we need to have a platypus farming game.
We do. Yeah, we do.
Just
now.
period.
Yes. Brought to you by the Dukes of Dice. Platypus Farming.
Okay.
But you're going to be more likely to be like, oh, I like Century Spice Road. I'll definitely go check out Century Platypus Farming.
But by the way, to go back to
yes,
back to,
by all means.
Unfortunately, if it was a Dukes of Dice title and was designed by Sean, it would be called like Shondapus Farming.
Okay.
Because you put Sean in every game design you work on,
and then subsequently throw away.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So thematically, here's what you're doing. All right, you ready for this, Alex?
Okay.
All right. So when you take a market card, that's the cards that you're playing. When you take a card, you're establishing a trade route.
Okay.
All right. When you play a card from your hand, you're making a trade or you're harvesting spices. I think that triggers the most with me. I understand that one the most. You're fulfilling a demand by meeting the victory point card objective. That makes sense too. And then resting is what you're doing by taking back all your cards. Okay. So is this a particularly thematic game?
Doesn't feel, no.
Did Splendor feel thematic to you?
No, not really.
Did you need it to?
No.
Did you need this game to?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right.
It's not athematic, I guess. I mean, there's clearly you're trading. It makes some degree of sense.
Athematic what?
It's not athematic.
I was joking.
What?
I was joking.
Right.
Never mind.
Gosh, Sean. Ramirez. Anyway. Yeah, I don't think it needs it, and it doesn't have any effect on my opinion of the game one way or the other. But what do you know? That's just how things go sometimes. All right.
Oh, by the way, the other Century titles look to be Eastern Wonders and A New World, by the way.
Okay.
Just throw that out there.
All right, fair enough. But not platypus farming.
No, not platypus farming.
Let's talk to Emerson, see if we can get platypus farming in the line.
All right, well, let's talk about Emerson real quick, right?
Yeah, hey.
So,
is this the official ducal apology?
No, it's not an apology.
Okay.
So if longtime listeners will recall,
yes.
One of Emerson's previous titles, Spectre Ops, which I was not a fan of. We reviewed it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, you enjoyed it a lot. I gave it a 3 initially, and then I gave it a 2 in the double take, but I was like, hey, this is a Sean problem. It's not so much a game or design problem. I just don't like hidden movement games. And I kind of was like, I feel unfair because I don't like the style of the game. I mean, if you like hidden movement, then you should play this game. Absolutely. But I'm like, I never want to play this game again, but I don't ever want to play any hidden movement game again. So yeah. Anyway, Emerson, met him at BGG-Con last year, the year before, something like that. Very nice gentleman. And, he was aware of the review, he was aware of what I said about the game, and he couldn't be more than cordial, more than polite. And he was like, no, I totally understand what you said. It's not your style of game. I appreciate the way you put it in that, yeah, if you like the style of game, you're going to like it. So yeah, I'm happy to say that I am a big fan of Century Spice Road. However, Alex, I will say though that this is not necessarily a game that I'm going to choose to pull off the shelf for me. Which, similar to Splendor, I'm not going to do that because these are kind of gateway games. I'm not going to pull off Forbidden Desert for myself. I'm going to pull it off because I think it's a game that I will enjoy in the situation of kind of teaching someone about hobby board games.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's something that you use to spread the love.
Right. So I think this is great for that purpose. This is a game that I haven't purchased yet, but I'm going to add to the collection. So that definitely says something about it, as opposed to, say, getting rid of Spectre Ops, which I did. And yeah, but again, it's with that caveat of it's not necessarily a game that I'm looking to play unless I'm trying to fulfill a particular situation.
Okay. So. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
I understand. for me, I see that fulfilling that purpose, that it does work for what you're talking about it working for. To me, it actually also works though as a gamer's game too, as something you can pull out that's going to play fairly quickly, but still engage people and still work really well. Especially now knowing how those exchange cards work has me think even more that this could be a really interesting engine building game to break out. I like that it can play with a wide variety of groups. We can bring this out at Dukes of Dice Game Night, and I might pick up a copy of this myself, Sean, because I could see this playing well with my folks. I could see them enjoying it. They really enjoyed. They actually bought Splendor after playing Splendor.
Sure.
And I think this would be right up their alley as well. I like that it has that versatility, and I think that's something to strive for in games. Not every game should be for everyone. I like that this can have a broad appeal. And it does have an appeal for me. I actually would pull this off the shelf to play for myself.
Yeah.
Not in every situation, but in a lot of situations.
I think that's a difference in tastes and preferred weight of games, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. So do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah. I mean, I think we kind of already gone into this here, but I'm going to settle on a 4. And so for reference, we use a 6-point scale here at the Dukes of Dice. A 1 is poorly designed but playable, not necessarily fun. A 6 is an all-time favorite that's a contender for the top 10. This is going to be a 4. A good game, worth playing, just not all the time, definitely belongs in the Duchy. So yeah, given the fact that I'm playing this in a given situation as a gateway game for newer gamers, it falls in that perfect 4 range. I'd say a very strong 4, a game that I'm going to get a lot of enjoyment out of. I'm going to feel fulfilled after playing. So yeah, a 4.
I think this won't be surprising to you, but it definitely is more up my alley. And I think because this is something that I'd be more inclined to just play, just straight up suggest and play, and not just for newer folks, I'm going to settle a little higher on this one, and I'm going to call this one a great game. We'll rarely turn down a play of it. That would be a 5 on our Ducal scale. And I think in general, it checks off a lot of boxes. I mean, as I mentioned, it has that efficiency of rules and that efficiency of play. Quick turns, I like that. I like that it's easy to get into. I like that it's easy to teach and explain. I like that it fits a lot of groups. And I think this does a great job. And I don't pick up every game we talk about, Sean, but this is one I might be buying one of Rory's 18 copies coming into the store. So it's really good. And I think Emerson did a great job with this. And I like the versatility that this shows, because this and Spectre Ops are in completely different universes as far as games go.
Oh, absolutely.
Which I can appreciate as a designer. So well done, Emerson. Yeah,
way to go.
Yeah, so that is our review of Century Spice Road. Sean gives this one a 4, and I give it a 5.
You are listening to the Dukes of Dice, proud members of the Dice Tower Network. For other great shows in the network, check out dicetowernetwork.com. Back to Alex and Sean for this week's Dukes Double-Take.
This week for our Dukes Double-Take, we are talking about Episode 95, Temple of Room. And that week we reviewed Karuba. Spiel nominated, didn't end up winning the Spiel at that time. At that time, it didn't end up winning, period. It lost to Codenames.
All right.
Which we had talked about in the episode. I had a sense that maybe this one might be a dark horse. It wasn't, but that's okay. Sean, you gave this one at the time a, quote, family 5.
Maybe that's why I should give Century Spice Road.
A family 5?
A family 5.
Or are you going back? This is the quickest double take ever. This is literally the fastest double take.
And it bookends, right? Because initially on the Spectre Ops double take, I went down.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of going up.
Oh, boy.
To give it a family 5.
That's such a weird...
We're going to call it a 4. We're going to keep it with a 4.
Oh, okay.
But Karuba I gave a family 5.
Yes, you did.
Maybe I should give him... Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
I gave this one a straight 5 at the time. I had no qualifications, and I was a little higher on it, oddly enough, at the time, which, listening back to the review, surprised me, because in my experience since, it's been one I haven't gotten back to the table and haven't really thought to get back to the table. I don't think it's because it's a bad game by any means. It just hasn't been in my head, really, and hasn't been one that's come up in any real situation.
And I've played it since. I watched, Tony from Rolling Dice Taking Names at Rocky Mountain Gaming Vacation taught some of the people that came with him how to play this, and I kind of watched along as they were playing, and I was kind of getting excited just watching it. I love this game. I think it's fantastic. This is I remember. Did it sound like in our last review that I was higher on it than you were?
No,
No?
I was higher on it than you were.
Okay.
Because I gave it a straight 5.
Well, sure,
I didn't even qualify that.
Well, no, but in the sense of my enthusiasm for the game, because ultimately, again, this isn't necessarily a game that I'm pulling out for myself, but I still really enjoy it, and in the right situation, I'm gonna pull it out, which is kind of what elevated it to that family that family 5. So in that situation, I don't know. I'm just confusing myself with all these different ratings now.
Yeah. That's why I don't use that qualifier.
So technically, I guess it would be a 4. A good game worth playing just all the time belongs in the duchy, but I really enjoyed it, and I still do, and I like the tile laying aspect to it because basically you're all doing the same thing. You're all trying to get your explorers to a certain temple on the opposite end of your individual boards. You're all pulling the tiles, the same tile, but it's how you use that tile. As a path if you place it down, or if you discard it for movement for some of your explorers. I think it's fantastic. And over time, it sounds like I've come to enjoy it more than you do.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
And it is weird. Because ultimately, I don't know whether... I hadn't really thought about this until this moment, but in terms of my thoughts, I think a good game fits it. Will play in the right situation kind of fits it. So it's sort of straddling that 3-4. I think just on the benefit of the doubt of
3-4 or 4-5?
No, 3-4.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not going to be a 5 anymore for me.
Well, sure, but I didn't realize it would drop to a 3.
I don't think it will.
Okay.
I'm ultimately going to give it the benefit of the doubt, and for me it'll drop from a 5 to a 4. A good game worth playing, just not all the time, belongs in the duchy. I don't remember liking it as much as I did, and listening to the review, I was surprised to hear that.
That kind of happens a lot, though.
Well, yeah, I have a weird memory.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work so well. Any case.
So Imhotep, though, was the other nominee, right?
In the spiel.
I have zero desire to play Imhotep.
Interesting.
I don't find it that interesting.
I liked Imhotep a lot.
Yeah, and I see the appeal of it. I just don't find it that interesting. I'd play this over that any day. So.
Yeah. So, all right. That's where we're at with this one. We did get one thought on this one on the guild. This one is from our trusty name father, Steve O'Rourke. The beef is off for now. For now. And Steve says, thought Karuba would be a hit with the family. Straightforward rules, easy to teach, fun race, nice look, etc. Played it once, and it was work to finish it. Didn't really grab and keep their attention. While I liked it and appreciated the design, it can't stay if we don't play. Probably a 3 on the ducal scale for me. It's an okay game, and I'd play it again. Sending it away makes the case we don't think it belongs in our little corner of the duchy. I like that rhyme, by the way. If it can't stay if we don't play.
Okay.
I like that a lot.
That's Steve O'Rourke channeling Johnny Cochran.
And it's copyrighted. Steve O'Rourke.
All right.
Yeah, I'm copyrighting it for you, Steve. Any case, so yeah, that's his thoughts on this one.
You don't know how to copyright.
I have not a clue. No idea. That is our look at Karuba. So for me, it goes from a 5 to a 4. And for Sean...
It kind of goes from a 5 to a 4 if I were to get rid of the family distinction.
But are you going to keep it?
I don't know.
All right. It's an uncertain score from Sean.
We'll call it a 4, but it's a very enthusiastic 4.
4.5, but not actually.
It's a family 5 if Century Spice Road can be a family 5.
Which, unfortunately, changing the score that close to the actual review we just did, I think has kept you from giving that title.
Okay.
Yeah, reviewing stuff's hard, Sean.
It sure is.
All right, that's our Dukes Double-Take.
So, Alex.
Yes, Sean?
What do a rat, a fox, and a sheep all have in common?
I don't know, because we don't know what the fox says, but we have a pretty good sense of the other two.
What does a rat say? They go...
Yeah.
Or like...
Yeah, that sounds... No, I liked your second one. Yeah.
That's a rat?
Yeah, good enough.
What does a sheep say?
Bah.
Okay.
Come on now.
But they're also all mammals. But that's not the point.
Yeah,
Not
at all.
They're actually all brand new movement cards in the expansion for Arcane Wonders Onitama. Onitama Sensei's Path. Ooh. Yeah. So, Alex, are you a fan of Onitama?
Love it. Love this game.
So it's kind of like a streamlined chess where you're moving some pieces, you're trying to capture your opponent's pieces, or get your sensei to the opposing sensei's spot, so to speak. And what's really cool is that you're using 5 of these movement cards every game, but you're kind of sharing these cards. So when you use a particular movement card, you now make it available for your opponent. And what's really cool is this is offering 16 brand new movement cards that you can shuffle in with the base movement cards to add a little bit more variety to your games of Onitama. So interested in this, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, just saw a couple copies at Empire. Might go swing by and pick one up.
So if you're local, go and pick it up at Empire Board Game Library. Otherwise, pick it up at your own friendly local gaming store or some online store of your choice. Either way, go buy Sensei's Path from Arcane Wonders.
All right, this week for our discussion topic, we are talking about the Dice Tower Awards because, Sean, our ballots are due. Have you submitted yours yet?
I have not. As of the time of recording, we have a few days left.
Yes.
And I am holding out hope that I will get a chance to play Mansions of Madness. And I will say, at Rocky Mountain Gaming Vacation, our buddy Nick, he went over and above, above and beyond. That's the word.
Over the top.
Over the top, like Sylvester Stallone.
Good job.
To try and get me to play this while we were there. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I regret not playing it. Sorry, Nick, you were right. Because there's a couple categories that I'm like, I feel like I should at least have played this to be able to vote on this. We'll talk about those as we get to them.
So here's my big problem, Sean.
You've hardly played any of these?
I left the country for 3.5 months, and I've played some of these to vote in some categories, but there are going to be a number of these categories where I will not be voting.
Okay, so by my count, there are 14 categories. My estimation is you're going to recuse yourself from 8 of the 14.
Let's run through. I haven't actually counted.
Well, let's go. We'll go through it. I'll keep a tab.
My rule of thumb has been with this that if I haven't played 3 of the 5 games, I probably won't vote in it unless I'm really enthusiastic about 2 of the ones I've played. So here's the plan. We're going to go through the nominees. We're going to kind of do it quickly and tell you how we're going to be voting. Again, mine might be subject to change depending on whether or not I've So
played.
It's possible we'll be lying to our listeners?
No.
Okay.
Subject to change. I'm giving that in advance.
All right.
All right, so the first category is Best Game from a New Designer. The nominees are Kingdom Death Monster, Vast: The Crystal Caverns, Adrenaline, Terraforming Mars, and the Manhattan Project Energy Empire. I have played everything there except for Kingdom Death Monster.
Yep.
I think you've played everything but Kingdom Death and Vast, right?
So Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
That's right.
I don't think I played that version. I played the other version of the Manhattan Project.
Okay, so you're recusing yourself.
Well, I'm at 2 of 5, and hopefully
per your rule,
so I'm going to see if prior to submitting for a vote, if I can get in a play of one of these.
Okay.
Because we have the Dukes of Dice game night on Wednesday, which is the day before this is all due.
Right.
If I can play one of these, it'll probably be either Vast or the Manhattan Project.
Okay.
If I can get one of those, then I'll vote in this.
Well, you'll need Nick to bring the Manhattan Project because I sold my copy to him.
Excellent. If I were to lean, and I'm not necessarily voting in this, but if I were to lean, and I think it's going to be a walk, I think Terraforming Mars is going to win this going away.
No, I think it's going to be a slaughter.
Yeah. So that would be where I would lean to give my vote, and I think that's what's going to end up with.
But as of now, you're recusing yourself?
Yeah, as of the time of this recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next category is Best Artwork, and that has Arkham Horror, the card game, Inish, Islebound, Kanagawa, and Scythe. Let me tell you, that is a crazy, crazy category because they're all fantastic. But I'm voting for Scythe. I mean, that was the first thing that drew me in when news about Scythe started. I was like, this art is incredible. It's so different. It is so evocative of certain feeling, certain emotion.
Yeah.
I just think it's incredible. And that's not to say that Kanagawa isn't beautiful, Islebound isn't beautiful. Inish, I think it's a little bit more polarizing. And then the Arkham Horror, the card game, all the LCGs for Fantasy Flight are always fantastic. But yeah, for me, it's easily Scythe.
So does anything get a second place vote? Because we can give multiple places in this. Or is it such a runaway in your mind?
It's for me, it's 3 three runners up that aren't necessarily super close or super far away. Probably Islebound.
Okay.
I really enjoy how Islebound looks.
Yes. Yeah, I think it looks great. And for me, I also like the look a lot of Kanagawa.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
It's a good category. But here's the thing with Scythe. This is a game that was designed based off of art.
Yeah.
It was an art-first game, which is such an unusual path for a game to be created. Jamie saw that art and designed around that. It's gorgeous, and it's stunning. And if I were to have art in a house, which I don't have a house, I would probably get some of it to hang, because I think it would look really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, my vote's going to be for Scythe. That's one where you don't necessarily have to have played the game to vote.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Which is good for me.
It's very good for you.
Yes, I'm still voting for Scythe though. Having seen all of these, there's some great contenders in the mix for sure.
Sure,
solid category.
I know. I'm kind of going down the list of like all the games we reviewed that are mentioned here while you were gone.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. All right, next category: Best Theming, Black Orchestra, Captain Sonar, Role Player, Seafall, and Terraforming Mars. I've played everything in here except for Seafall.
and I've played 3 of the 5, so I can, by my own arbitrary rules, vote in this one.
Just barely.
I haven't played Black Orchestra or Seafall.
I got to play Black Orchestra with Philip DeBerry on, it was either Tabletopia, one of the online things. Very, very thematic. You are Nazi generals and Nazi leadership trying to assassinate Hitler. Very, very thematic. So what are you thinking here, Alex?
It's interesting. Captain Sonar gives you the feel of this really cool feel of being on a sub. You actually are fairly immersed in playing this game, and it comes out pretty well. Role player is a really unique theme.
It is a really unique theme. But what's the theme of? Is it a theme of you rolling up an RPG character before you sit down and play an RPG game?
Yeah, kind of. No, I think that's actually literally what it is.
Yeah.
And what are you equiping on that character? What armor are you using? What skills or different things does that character have? I guess it's more of a higher level character in general, probably. It's a really interesting theme.
It is, and I love the game. I love the game.
And then there's Terraforming Mars, which I don't know. Is this one going to be another walk with Terraforming Mars taking away? I don't know for sure. It does building on Mars really well. Cards that fit that theme. It's a tricky one for me, Sean, and it's one where I might provide 2 votes, and where I might go with this one is Terraforming Mars 1, Role Player 2.
But by the way, we should note that we're allowed to
I think up to
rank.
3.
We're allowed to rank games, right?
Yeah.
And so if you only pick one, I believe that gives it more weight,
more of an edge. Yeah.
Yeah. So sorry, it was...
I'd probably go Terraforming Mars first, then Role Player second. That one's subject to change. I have to think about it a little more.
Interesting.
Where are you going with this?
Oh, boy. I'm going to go Black Orchestra number 1 and Terraforming Mars number 2. And I definitely enjoy Terraforming Mars more than Black Orchestra, but the theme behind Black Orchestra, I think, was really solid. Really solid. So, yeah, that'll be my vote for best theming.
Are you ready for my favorite category, Sean?
Oh, boy. You haven't played any of these.
I have not played any of the best 2-player games nominated.
Okay.
I feel really sad about that. Really sad. Not good. The nominees for that one, 13 Days, The Cuban Missile Crisis, Arkham Horror, the card game, Codex, Card Time Strategy, Star Wars Destiny, and Star Wars Rebellion. Sean, have you played all of these?
I've played all of them.
Nice.
Oh, this is rough. This is really rough. So I've only played Rebellion the one time.
Wait, can I predict something?
Okay.
It's going to be Destiny.
Yeah, it's going to be Destiny. Yeah.
I saved us all a bunch of time.
Yeah, okay, thanks. It's going to be Destiny with Rebellion 2 and Arkham Horror 3.
Okay.
But I love Destiny. It's so good. Oh, it's so good. And they just announced the new set.
Which I convinced you not to put in news.
Empire at War.
For a reason.
Which has Mace Windu in it.
Oh, God.
It focuses a lot on the Star Wars Rebel show. Anyway, it's got this new upgrade, this new blue upgrade called Master of the Council.
Moving on.
Super good. It's got like +3 melee, +4 melee. Okay, anyway.
Oh, you need to have a spin-off podcast just for your Destiny life.
I should.
All right. Best reprint. Hey, this one's a fun one. I've only kind of played one of these games. Kind of.
Yes.
So we have 51st State Master Set, Escape from Aliens in Outer Space, Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, Arkwright, and Robinson Crusoe. I am obviously recused in this category.
Yeah.
There's not a chance I can play enough in time to vote on this. It's just not happening. And I think in general, I don't think I've ever voted on Best Reprint since I've had a Dice Tower Awards vote.
I've
never played enough of them to have voted. Have you played enough in this one, Sean?
I have not. In fact, I have only played Arkwright, so I will be recusing myself from this category.
Okay.
I think this will be my only recusal. I would like to play all of these. I'd like to play 51st State. I've heard great things about Escape from Aliens in Outer Space. Of course, Mansions of Madness, we've already talked about. Robinson Crusoe, I wound up getting rid of my first edition at the Gamer's Garage sale, and I haven't played the reprint. So, double recusal. Shame on the Duchy. Shame.
All right, next up, Best Expansion. We have Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon, Scythe Invaders from Afar, Stockpile Continuing Corruption, Time Stories Prophecy of Dragons, Time Stories Under the Mask.
Yes.
I have played one of these.
Yep.
Invaders from Afar. That's it.
So I have only played 2. Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon and Scythe Invaders from Afar. I am not going to recuse myself because the Time Stories I know would not be in consideration. I am one of the few people that has not enjoyed Time Stories.
But there was some thought that you might have enjoyed Prophecy of Dragons if you gave it a shot.
And maybe the theme makes a difference, but ultimately, I just don't like the core mechanics. It is. I'd rather be playing a role playing game. But yeah, I'm gonna give it to Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon because I think it is a fantastic expansion. I think it adds just enough. Certainly I had played it before the expansion maybe 30, 40 times. I played it a bunch and I wasn't getting tired of it by any stretch. But this added just enough to keep it fresh and it's great. I think it's fantastic. Scythe Invaders from Afar will probably be my number 2 choice. I think the new factions are great. It's great. They're both great.
Awesome. I'm not voting in this one.
Nope, sure aren't.
Current recusal count for Alex. I'm adding little R's as we go. I'm at 1, 2, 3,
You're at 3.
4.
Four?
I'm at 4.
4.
Yeah. This one I'm not recused from because this is, I think, the only category where I've played more than you have.
That's correct. You have played all of these.
That's Best Party Game, and I have played all of these. Codenames Pictures, Captain Sonar, Happy Salmon, Junk Art, and Secret Hitler.
Which is the one I have not played.
That's right. And I got that one in New Zealand. And all of these are awesome. This is a really, really good category, a really strong category this year. But come on now. Come on now, Sean. It's Happy Salmon.
Happy Salmon.
Happy Salmon. This is good. Some good Foley work on our parts because we're sitting in a recording position where we can't actually do it with each
Happy
other.
Salmon.
So we basically did a solo version of Happy Salmon. Okay, so this game, Sean, I have played all over the world, and I brought it to my brother's board game night. It was a huge success. It's been very well loved, easy to teach, so much fun to play. It gets the party started for sure, or keeps the party going late into the night.
I've also played it with the family immediately before a funeral. So it works in all situations.
What? Oh, man. Somber salmon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great. And we also invented the trader mechanic for this one, Sean, which was my favorite ever playthrough of this, which we both lost horribly. So that's my vote is for Happy Salmon going away. If I were to give a second here, maybe Junk Art. I like Junk Art a lot. Played that one with Suzanne up in Seattle.
So I find it weird that Junk Art is nominated here in Best Party Game. It doesn't feel like a party game. I don't know that Captain Sonar feels like a party game either. I mean, it's high player count.
Play up to 8. Yeah, I think that's what gets it there.
Yeah. And I'll just say with Secret Hitler, it's interesting. I don't like the theme in Secret Hitler, yet I chose Black Orchestra as my top theming choice. Same theme, but a different approach to...
Very different approach. And here's the thing is, mechanically, I think you would absolutely love the game.
I know.
Yeah.
So I know there's got to be some alternate rethemings of it out there.
Are there?
There's got to be.
Does there?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we just buy a copy and like modify it somehow for your purposes. Secret, I don't know. Anyway, so are you going Happy Salmon here too?
Yeah, I'm going Happy Salmon.
Okay.
With probably Captain Sonar as my second, although I still feel weird that it's a party game choice. But anyway, Happy Salmon. So much fun with it.
Cool. Best cooperative game, Sean. And have I played any of these? Yeah, I've played one of these. I played one of these 5. So I'm recusing in this one too. Recusal count up to 5 now. Arkham Horror the card game, Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition, Mechs vs. Minions, and P-Rock Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, which I've now embraced as the nickname for that game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have not played Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. I think we're going to probably get it pretty soon because Mariah has just dived. She's dived. Wow. She's dived.
Verbs are hard.
Head deep into Harry Potter.
Head deep.
Wow. Head first?
Yeah.
I'm really tired.
Okay.
Let me point out that I've probably been exhausted for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So the week before RMGV was me like working hard to get like ahead of the ball so I could be gone for a week. And then my head and my tooth.
You can't talk.
My tooth hurts for a week. And now I'm like furiously trying to get caught up at work. Podcasting's hard, Alex. It really is.
It's a rough game, Sean.
All right. Anyway, she really likes Harry Potter now. That's all I should probably say. She's reading the book. She's watching the movies. So she's like, oh, are there any good Harry Potter games? Like, actually. So maybe this gets played soon, but I don't think before voting's going to happen. But yeah, I'm going to pick Arkham Horror, the card game. I think it's possible, based off everything I've heard, that Mansions of Madness could be a contender. Mechs vs. Minions, I think, is really solid. This is definitely a hard category, but I really enjoy Arkham Horror, the card game.
All right.
Oh, but you know what? I think I prefer it solo. Oh, maybe that changes things.
That's a dilemma.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go Mechs vs. Minions. It's a really solid cooperative. It's hard to alpha game it. So yeah, Mechs vs. Minions is my choice.
All right.
And you're recusing yourself.
Yes. Best family game I'm not recusing myself from because I've kind of played 4 of the 5. I've definitely played 3 of the 5.
Okay.
So Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, nominated there as well. Ice Cool.
Oh yeah.
Junk Art, Karuba, and Sushi Go Party. And the reason I say kind of is I own Sushi Go Party, and I've played Sushi Go a lot, but I've not played Sushi Go Party. It's firmly on my shelf of shame.
So where are you going here?
I think Ice Cool.
Oh yeah, Ice Cool.
So much fun.
It is my go-to dexterity game now. I think it's so much fun. I think it's so cool. There are certain
Ice Cool, in fact.
Yes, there are certain aspects of dexterity games that I'm not crazy about, but man, I love Ice Cool. I think it's so good. This is easily my choice. I would probably go Karuba second at this point.
I would probably go Junk Art second.
Yeah.
Though the family game piece of it, Ice Cool fits the best to me. So, it's really well designed, cool components. I love this box in a box thing that they do. So, yeah, Ice Cool would be where I'd go with this one. Strategy game, I'm also not recusing myself from, Sean.
Okay.
Because I've played 3 of the 5. We have A Feast for Odin, Great Western Trail, Scythe, Star Wars Rebellion, and Terraforming Mars.
And I've played them all.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Do I get a cookie now or
No.
a prize? An award of some kind?
You, sir, have brought distinction to the duchy,
Excellent.
where I have let us down. Anyway.
I'm going to just point out real quick that I used to date this girl, and every now and then, I'd be like, oh, I did this. And she's like, well, I'm not giving you an award for that.
Oh, all right.
I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I'm glad to bring that flashback back.
Thanks.
So, of these 5, Sean, where you go with your vote here?
This is a tough one.
Yeah.
This is a really tough one because, as you know, Scythe was my number 1 game of last year. It was your number 1 game of last year.
It sure was.
If I am honing in on the strategy element here, kind of the Euro element here, then I'm probably going to, and that's not fair to say Euro, because Star Wars Rebellion's not a Euro game.
Nope.
And this has always kind of been a tough category for the Dice Tower Awards, because it doesn't have the same identity that you think it would have. For example, Colonist is not here, Arkwright's not here, but that's just kind of the demographic of the nominees. Basically, Alex, I'm stalling for time. What's your choice?
It'll be Scythe 1. I might give a kicker. I'm not sure whether to go Great Western Trail or Terraforming Mars second here. It's a rough category, Sean. There's a lot of good games.
Yeah.
I understand the distinction of what's a strategy game versus this. I don't know. I might flip. At least initially, my thought is, if I'm going to go Game of the Year for Scythe, it's hard for me to not pick it in any category it's in where gameplay is involved.
Yeah.
But that's also a weird thing to say. It's probably Scythe. There's a chance maybe Great Western Trail or Terraforming Mars flips there. It's hard to give a definite in this one, though. It's a rough category.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Scythe.
Okay.
With a bonus to Great Western Trail and then Terraforming Mars.
Okay.
Because they're all excellent. All 5 of those games are excellent.
Yeah, really, really nicely stacked category there for sure. Now to another category, Sean, which has changed from past years.
It has changed. There may or may not have been some ducal involvement in that, but we're not technically allowed to discuss the inner workings of the committee.
Any case.
Yep.
Best board game production, Sean, and boy, can I vote in this? No, I don't think I can. I've only played 2 of these 5. I guess I could look at the productions of other ones and maybe come to some conclusion.
Yeah,
I might end up voting in this one. We'll see. I want to get a good close look at a Mech versus Minions copy and the others and some of these, and maybe I can make a decision and vote on this. Your nominees: Conan, the others, Mechs versus Minions, Scythe, Star Wars Rebellion.
Yeah.
Mechs vs. Minions was an over-the-top amazing production.
Absolutely.
I really love what Scythe did. I think Mechs vs. Minions, though, was next level in terms of at least what I've seen.
Yeah.
It looked really good.
So, I mean, the big wow factor there is the sheer amount of miniatures, the sheer amount of the minions that you're getting, I think. And not to say that the other elements of the production aren't also really strong, but I think as just kind of a whole cohesive package, I feel like Scythe is better. I mean, The board is fantastic. All of the different resources. I mean, I guess it depends. Are you talking about the collector's edition, which I happen to get from Kickstarter, or the retail edition? There are ways to upgrade the retail edition, right? If you're talking sheer component quality per dollar, it would have to be Mechs vs. Minions. By the way, I played all of these.
Okay, excellent. I'm proud of you. Still.
The others has fantastic Simon Studio McVeigh miniatures. Looks great. Other great components too. But I just think for the whole cohesive package that Scythe brings you, it's got to be my choice.
Okay,
it's got to be.
No, and that brilliance with the miniatures on that player board in front of you, and how that double layered board and how that's set up certainly worked really well. I want to get a good look at Mechs vs. Minions. I don't know if I'll have a chance to play it prior to having to vote in this.
Yeah,
but if I can get a decent enough look, and that's where my head's at, is between those two.
And we've had issue with, or at least I've had issue with this category in the past, because it typically was what's the best minis game, the best game with minis. And if that were the case, the others I think would win, because I think the others hands down had the best minis. But if we're looking at the whole of the production, it's got to be Scythe. I'll probably throw a vote to Mechs vs. Minions, and maybe Star Wars Rebellion as well. I don't know, but definitely Scythe is what I'm going to be voting for.
Fair enough. I'm currently in maybe recusal mode, maybe not. I think I'll probably end up voting in this, but we'll see. Okay. I'm leaning towards Mechs vs. Minions without having had a good enough look at the game.
Sure.
So, all right, moving on to most innovative game, and I've played 4 of these 5, so I'm voting in this one. Hooray!
Hooray!
Captain Sonar, Clank, a deck-building adventure, Millennium Blades, Mystic Veil, and Vast, the Crystal Caverns. To me, I think this is actually a runaway.
Well, I think it should be a runaway.
Okay.
Millennium Blades.
Yeah, that's where my head's at with this one, too.
Yeah, I think it should be a runaway. In my mind, the innovation here is leaps and bounds above everything else in the category. Captain Sonar, you could see it in Space Cadets Dice Duels.
Right.
Clank, it's deck building on a board, right?
With movement on the board and some of that noise. Yeah, I mean, it does a lot of cool stuff.
Vast, the Crystal Caverns, has asynchronous player powers. It takes it to the next level, but in my mind, it's still doing stuff that other games have done, just a little bit more of it. Mystic Veil has that card crafting element to it, which is really cool, but you've seen that before with Gloom. Millennium Blades is just so different. There is nothing out there that I'm trying to think. What can you compare Millennium Blades to?
It's hard. I mean, there's elements of things you can compare it to, right? I mean, there's pieces of the game that compare to different things. But when you have that real-time trading, that collecting element, and that sort of metagame tournament play, it's just that whole package and that combination. And to be clear, in the past, this is a category where it's not vote for the game you like the most.
Correct.
It's vote for the game that it has the most in it. But I think in this case, it actually fits in both cases.
It works for me,
both
too.
my favorite game, and I think the one that does the most stuff innovative. To me, Mystic Veil has somewhat of an argument here.
Sure.
I know Gloom did it. I like how this does it with the deck building piece of things. So that card crafting system, I think there's a legitimate argument to be made. And we'll see. It wouldn't surprise me if that ends up winning over this.
I feel like it might.
Yeah.
I feel like this is Millennium Blades' category. It should definitely take this, but I hope it does.
We'll see.
And I think to help that, I'm only voting Millennium Blades.
I think I will as well. Yeah. Any case, next up, best game from a small publisher, which typically I don't vote in, but I've actually played enough of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have Arkwright. I didn't get my vote.
Woo!
Cottage Garden, Not Alone, which I've heard fantastic things about and didn't actually get a chance to play, unfortunately. Role Player, and Vast, the Crystal Caverns. And if I were to vote on this today, I think it would be Role Player, number 1, and maybe Cottage Garden would get a kicker vote for me.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be Arkwright. I love Arkwright so much. Oh, it's so good. How you doing there, Alex?
Oh, just hearing it discussed in any more depth than just the name just had me like,
Well, here's what I really love about it.
Boy.
I'm good.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
good.
All right.
No, you can go back and listen to, I think it was episode 102 where MaggieBot, Marguerite Cottrell, guest hosted, because Alex, you couldn't quite get the plays in of this.
Oh, God, no. Nowhere close.
But yeah, Arkwright would be my first choice, and then I'd probably throw another vote to Role Player after that. Yeah.
And then finally, we've reached Game of the Year, Sean, and here are your contenders: Adrenaline, Captain Sonar, Cry Havoc, A Feast for Odin, Great Western Trail, Inish, Mechs vs. Minions, Scythe, Star Wars Rebellion, and Terraforming Mars.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Yes.
So if you're doing 3 of 5, because all the other categories are 5 nominees,
Right.
You got to be there at 60%.
Sure. And
Or,
I think
or
I think
40%.
if I'm counting this list, I think I'm there. Let's see. I've played Terraforming 1, Scythe, Great Western, Captain Sonar, and Adrenaline. So I'm at 5 of, how many of this? 9? 10? 5 of 10.
5 of 10.
Yeah, I'm still going to vote. I'm voting on this. I'm not recusing in this one.
Okay.
And for me, it was my game of the year last year, Scythe.
Yeah.
And what I'm curious about is, will it be Scythe or Terraforming Mars?
Yeah.
That's
I
the
think
real
so.
head-to-head contender, and it would not surprise me if either of those won. I think I'd be surprised if anything else on this list won instead of either of those two games.
I think Star Wars Rebellion has a chance. I mean, I wouldn't bet on it, but I think it has a chance.
Sure.
There could be something funky with like people being polarized about Scythe and Terraforming Mars, because Scythe has been a fairly polarizing game. There have been a lot of people that, and I'm just talking generally here, I'm not talking about the community, but there's been a lot of people that have kind of pushed back against the hype that Scythe had around it. Whether that has an effect here in the committee, I don't know. So it could be people voting, diehards for Scythe, diehards for Terraforming Mars, and then they don't vote for the others, but they vote for Rebellion. I don't know.
So I just did a little quick research.
Yeah.
On BGG, the current ranking as of the time of this recording, Scythe is ranked number 7.
Yeah.
All time. Terraforming Mars is ranked number 8 of all time. Oh, man. Oh.
Where's Rebellion?
I'm looking that up now.
It's because it's got to be, I'm pretty sure it's in the top 20, I think. It's not 9? Is it 9?
No, it's 6.
Oh, it's 6.
Star Wars Rebellion is 6.
So it's 6, 7, 8.
Yes.
So with that knowledge, do you want to revise your opinion of what you think might happen? I don't think Scythe wins it. I don't think it does.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's what I'm voting for, if I didn't already say that.
Yeah.
But I don't think Scythe wins it.
Are you giving a kicker vote, or are you just all your love to one here?
No, I'm gonna vote as much as I can here, because I think I want to.
There's enough worthy games.
Yeah, there's enough worthy games, and I want to see how it kind of plays out. It would be Scythe, Terraforming Mars, Star Wars Rebellion.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm really curious how the voting will shake out on this one. This is the most interesting category to me in terms of what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And I truly don't know. I'm going to make the prediction that Terraforming Mars ends up taking it.
I think so. I think that's my gut, too.
Yeah. So, hey, final recusal count, I'm only at 6, so I didn't do as badly as I thought I was doing, Sean.
Well, 6, maybe 7.
Maybe 7. Depends on life. And maybe 8.
I guess 8, yeah.
Yeah, you guessed 8. It's possible 8. So, as of the time of this recording, I guess it would be 8. So, yeah. Anyway, that's our Dice Tower Awards picks.
Maybe I get up super early Sunday morning, Father's Day.
Okay.
And just solo play Mansions of Madness.
Wait, it is Father's Day. You can kind of set the agenda here, Sean.
No, my 3-year-old always sets the agenda.
Well, tell her to calm down for a day, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that.
All right. Well, that's our discussion topic for the week. But before we go, honorable mentions for episode titles. I had some interesting ones this week. First up, Jeff Rademacher, Karuba Masala, Trade You for Paprika.
Yeah, little Kokomo reference.
I liked it.
Little Beach Boys reference there. So
I dug it. I dig the Beach Boys.
Jason Lees suggested Spice Traders and Temple Raiders, a very clear reference to Century Spice Road, and Karuba.
Blaine Miley with the Guild's pick, kind of, for episode title this week. Adventure Time, with time spelled T-H-Y-M-E. However, I appealed, Sean.
You did.
Just prior to recording, saying, hold the phone, Sean. Time is not a spice. And, upon further review, time is not a spice.
It is an herb, and I looked up the distinction between an herb and a spice. Herbs are the leaves of the plant, while spices come from the roots, bark, and seeds. Essentially, any part of the plant that is not a leaf and can be used for seasoning would fall into spice category. So, Alex and Blaine, now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Yo, Joe! See, I got 2 Yo Joes in there in one episode.
Nice job. I didn't actually know that was a G.I. Joe thing.
Knowing's half the battle?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That makes sense, though.
You're so
I guess a battle works. So I mainly know the reference from Flip the Table. And now you know, because knowing is how you know stuff. Anyway, So in my ongoing tradition of throwing guild members under the bus, sorry Blaine, I've thrown you under the bus by throwing out what was actually a pretty good title, and I appreciated the effort. It was nice, but it's not a spice. Rejected. Watchdog Alex says, no.
Wow. Moving on, Jonathan Dodd suggested apologies for Emerson, which, requires a little bit of background. So not quite the most obvious, but very, very apropos.
Sean, this is the time of the show. Do you have something you'd like to say to Emerson?
No, I'm not apologizing for my view on what would be otherwise an excellent game, if referring, of course, to Spectre Ops, just that I don't like that whole genre of hidden movement.
Maybe if we had Emerson on the show, like at Dice Tower Con or somewhere else, and you could face-to-face apologize. That might be more heartfelt.
No, I enjoyed Century Spice Road quite a bit.
Excellent.
And I'm going to purchase it. It's going to stay in my collection for years and years to come.
Matt Ball with a Dune reference, the spice must flow.
I can see through time. Which is actually a Simpsons reference.
Okay.
When Lisa eats like some spicy Indian food.
Okay.
And her eyes.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
All right.
I understand what's going on. All right, that's going to do it, though. Congrats again to BJ with Gold is Spice. Always good to get a foreigner reference in the show. We're a sucker for songs, Sean.
Yep, we sure are. All
right.
Well, you stepped on my outro.
Hey, you stepped on my intro. You took away my and. It all comes back around, Sean.
All right, you know what? This is Sean.
Duke of Karma and Alex.
So, in case you're wondering what just happened now, I just edited out Alex's and this isn't future Sean, this is current Sean telling you this as Alex is listening to it. So Alex, anything else you'd like to say?
Nah.
Okay. Hail Hydra.
Thank you so much for listening to the Dukes of Dice. Today's episode was recorded in the Duchy on June 16, 2017. Our theme music is provided by Carbo Hydro M from his Prime Legacy album. The Dukes of Dice are a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. For other great board gaming podcasts, check out DicetowerNetwork.com, and for all the latest in the Duchy, go to DukesOfDice.com. Find us on Twitter at Dukes of Dice. Join in conversations on our Board Game Geek Guild. Find us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks to our sponsors, Arcane Wonders and Tasty Minstrel Games. Check out all their awesome titles at PlayTMG.com and ArcaneWonders.com. We'll see you back here in 1 week. Until then, game on!